The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Tuesday, the 21st day of February 2023. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, Lindos. I'm Jamal Hartman. She sent your dorm, and Tamara McHale will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. I wonder if Sandra's gonna say anything today that we can hear.
Yeah.
Oh. You like how I did that one?
Listen, good morning. You're making me start with an explanation. I had to mute my mic, everyone, because I have a sick kid at home today, and we don't want a replay of what happened before when you thought Maddox was in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
I was shouting through the house.
Remember that one? Everybody was fearing for his safety, man.
No, I just needed him to hear me.
Well, you know what? We're wishing Maddox well. Folks, Maddox got in the trenches with us on Sunday. For those who, reneged, didn't show up, bailed out. What's some other words? Come on, my vocabulary is not that deep. All those folks who didn't come. Well, we were there. We were, out there with KBB. Props to Wilmot Trucking and Paul Wilmot and Tracy Burgess over at KBB for getting us out. And as you'll see in some of the footage, Sancho's been from day one been like, look, we need to be out there. We need to be doing this. And we were out there. It felt good, honestly, folks. It was great to be amongst folks, but it was so disappointing to find some of the stuff we found, man.
Yeah, I agree. I really, as you know, Jamal, I had a rough time getting up. I was like, oh my God, why did we say we were doing this at 9 a.m.?
Yeah.
Right? But it was really, really good once we got there and got things going. And I enjoy being able to have Maddox with me to instill in him, so he was able to see the things that were thrown away and just carelessly not, because sometimes he'll have like a chip bag wrapper and just like, oh, where do I put it? You hold it until we find a trash can. And he saw where that stuff ended up and how many we found and what it does to the environment.
Yeah. And he said that. I asked him, why is it important to pick up trash? And she didn't tell him what to say. I asked him, he said, because of the environment. And he understands that. And, my only thing from people would be to honestly, look, do better. Some of the people were littering and there was trash cans right there. We've got to do better. I remember, I said it all the time. When I was working in Bermuda tourism, one of the things that they said separated us from so many other places was, it's pristine, it's cleanliness and so on. We've got to keep that up. I mean, there's absolutely no reason. I just can't think of a logical reason why someone wants to litter. So let's just do better as a community. We're not going to get into detail of all the kinds of things we found, but you can imagine what we found.
I was upset that my son was there to see a few things, but
read between those lines, folks. Thanks again. Good morning to Karen Simmons. Hey, day one, we appreciate it being out there with you. She put it in. Ebony Souza, Marcia, was it Harry Andrews?
Harry, yes.
The Honorable former Finance Minister Curtis Dickinson was in his house. Man, it was. If I'm forgetting anybody, seriously, blame my head, not my heart. But
What about your dad? Your dad was such a trooper. What?
man, why you gonna act like I forgot my? So my old man was out there, folks. He was in it. You know, he think he's 16 out there trying to lift bikes and everything. You should have seen, but he was out there. He made. Well,
He did.
can I tell the joke? He's probably gonna knock on the wall, but folks, he went to Shelly Bay thinking we were on Shelly Bay.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. He calls me. Where you at? I'm like, well, at Pembroke Playground. I'm at Shelly Bay, man. Daddy, I say, yeah, you tell me. Daddy, I didn't tell you Shelly Bay. Anyway, now here's a trooper. Honestly, appreciated him coming out and putting in the work with us.
Don't forget Shanta for all the free snacks. What is wrong with you, Jamal?
It's always like those closest to you, you kind of, just always, hold on, man, you forget. But Shanta, yeah, she bought the goods. She bought her 2 children, little child labor with Maddox, right? She made sure we were well fed and taken care of afterwards. So yeah.
So it's perks to come in to hang out with us.
Yeah, it is.
And I heard there were some gift cards given away. This is the reason why you need to hang out with the TDH community.
Hold on. I didn't get one though. Like it wasn't for people like me.
No.
Oh. I'm not gonna lie, folks. I was like, I wonder where's the gift card. She must have forgot, but I guess people like me don't get gift cards, folks. We forgot Shara's. So Shara's nephew came as well, and who else? Anyway, a lot of people came, folks. A lot of people came, and honestly, thank you. And Karen Simmons saying, "Getting better, Maddox. You were in it on Sunday. We need you better for celebrations shortly." So, yeah, folks.
Birthday's coming up.
Oh yeah, birthday.
So Maddox is March 4th, and she's March 5th.
All righty, birthday is coming up. All right, folks, let's get to it. Greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome the Executive Director of Citizens Uprooting Racism in Bermuda, they're known as CURB, Stacey-Lee Williams. She's back on the show. We're going to be talking about racial progress in 2023. The Daily Play is a remember when, and I did not have one, so I got a very tricky one. And if Sancha don't know the answer to this question that she pretty much wrote, then I don't even know what to tell you, folks.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, if you haven't already, make sure you register to become a member of the TDH community. Just fill out the application on our website or just on our YouTube channel, hit the join button. Did I say Ebony Sue's early? Okay, yeah. Folks, trust me, there are perks to joining us. I honestly don't understand why anyone who enjoys the show, watches this show, engages with us on the show isn't a TDH member. So if you need assistance, just hit us up, engage@thedailyhour.com. We'd like to be with you in person. Those who are in the TDH community are going to be doing some shopping with some of the TDH team today. So yeah. All right, let's get to it. So there was a budget speech that was read on Friday by you all's premier, the Honorable David Burke. And a lot has been shared or said in response to it. But we have a question this morning, very simple and direct, because there were quite a few things that stood out that got people talking. It could be medical tourism. It could be the Patty thing. What we're focusing on this morning is, what do you believe should happen with the Morgan's Point land? Well, why is that important? Well, let's go to our good friends over at the Royal Gazette. It's titled "Government Unveils Major Plans for Morgan's Point." So if you get to reading, well, before you get to reading, you see an artist's impression of the new development at Morgan's Point. And then you see the failed hotel project at Morgan's Point will be converted into a residential development along with the restaurant and retail complex the Premier revealed during the national budget. David Bird, also finance minister, said the 37-acre site in Southampton would provide opportunities in the hospitality, retail, and service sectors, with the phase costing an estimated $130 million and will be backed by a government guarantee. Folks, the question's very simple. What do you believe should happen with the Morgan's Point land? Sandra, can I go first real quickly?
Please.
Okay. Let me go first, because I remember when I was in the Bermuda Tourism Authority and we went up there for a tour and they were building these units, right? And I was there, and I was the negative Nancy in the Bermuda Tourism Authority because I was always about truth and honesty and always questioning stuff. And I just said, you all really have faith that this thing's going to be built and be a hotel by 2018. That's what they were saying back then, right? Oh, yes, they're just building the residential units. And I said, well, yeah, that's what they were doing down at, what was it, Palmetto thing down there in Flats? Yeah, that's what they were doing down there. And look at that. It's not a hotel anymore. We've seen this show so many times. And I remember saying to former Premier Craig Cannonier that instead of more hotel development, why don't you turn that into Bermuda's own Silicon Valley? Attract businesses. Even better. Movies are made in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica. Why not create a space on that where locals can create content and movies and bring in people from Hollywood? We have a lot of entertainment. You talk about turning, what was it? The America's Cup space, giving 800,000 to that recording artist guy or whatever he was supposed to be. Like, there's so many different things. But I just don't think we include Bermuda's most creative business minds in conversations, because there's this tendency that we're the government and we'll figure it out, even though guarantee after guarantee, regardless of who the government is, proves otherwise. So the question of the morning again is, what do you believe should happen with the Morgan's Point land?
Our good brother Charles Jeffers, he tweeted something in regard to this. And I want to make sure I get it word for word. Do you remember what he tweeted?
Yeah, the Royal Gazette definitely has it in their story. He says, quote, I'm not sure that this or any government should be getting into the development business, end quote.
I personally feel as if this government has tried development how many times before, and it has failed. Residential development, and it has failed. We keep making these promises for, I mean, at this point, we're just looking for a hotel. Can we have a hotel, please? Why are we going into more residential development when sitting over on South Shore is a huge development doing what? And we're still just pushing money into it with not, there's no one there. How long has that place been empty when you felt as if it was going to be a great development? No one bought them. No one. And we're still sitting here investing money into it to try to make something out of it. I think that they should step away from development. That's not their thing, and it's not the responsibility of the government. And if anything at all, our biggest problem right now is that we need hotels. How many times do we scream this? We need hotels. Why? It's almost like when you correct your kid, like, that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We should be, and you get frustrated because you keep, like, what are you not seeing?
Mm-hmm.
Am I missing something? Why are we going down this road? Development for who? Who's going to be living there? Who's buying these places? Development for who?
It almost seems like a case of maybe we just don't get it. Maybe Grand Atlantic didn't work out, but this will, because da 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 da.
Help me understand what the da 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 is, because when you continue to do the same thing and expect a different result, that's called insanity, right? We all know this.
Yeah.
So please, like, they should not be looking at residential development at this point. I think we should put our focuses into creating some sort of hotel sometime very soon, because we are, like, our tourism is dying. We're dying a slow death. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. Want to take Sean the Shields?
Okay, sorry. Jamal, sorry. Remember, Morgan's Point was a trade-off for the proposed South Shore Hotel project proposed by Nelson Hunt a few years ago.
Southlands. Yeah, Southlands. Never forget that. Thank you for that, Sean, because you know what? I did forget about the Southlands fiasco. And then someone put in the comments, think about this, folks. Think about this. Someone said, so you're telling me, don't quote me on it, that Premier David Burke knows more than what's the age the guy CEO former AIG name that had all the money? The businessman. He was the former CEO of AIG. He was in with Nelson Hunt on the thing. But anyway, you're telling me that Premier Burke knows more about him. And here's the challenge, folks. My biggest concern is that this is your money that they're using. I'm gonna tell you, and Sancha, you will as well. I know you will, but I'm gonna tell you, as an entrepreneur, as a person who owns a business with multiple different streams, you cannot just spend money willy-nilly. You cannot just keep, if this doesn't work, throw money at it. When you own a business, if something doesn't work, you've got to act fast. You have to figure it out. And one thing, you have to cut your losses if it means that you're going to have to keep putting in, because eventually that well will run dry. But these guys don't operate like that. And something tells me they don't operate like this because they have no business acumen. Who is guiding them? No disrespect to the civil service, right? But who in the civil service has operated a successful business to give this kind of advice?
Yeah.
Who are the consultants that are consulting them on this stuff?
I'm hoping that this is just a ploy, whereas it sounds good, and they thought that we were all going to be like, yay, this is going to be awesome. We're finally doing something for that land. And it goes nowhere. That's what I'm hoping.
Something, Sancho. Nicole Walker says, yes, it was Brian Duperreault. He was CEO of AIG. Yes, thank you, Sean Smith. Brian Duperreault. So people were, and Craig Christians, people were saying, oh, so you're telling me that Premier David Burke knows more than Brian Duperreault? I mean, truthfully, like, in fairness to Brian Duperreault, he's had a successful career as a chief executive in Bermuda and overseas, led some of the largest companies in the world in his industry. Like, what, if you take away David Burke's premiership, what has he done on this level? It's concerning, folks. Let's go to the audience. What do you believe should happen with the Morgan's Point land? Sam Cap, please, says, the problem is who they want to attract. Always thinking too big before looking at those who are willing to spend for a reasonable price. It's really not that hard. Oh, I concur.
Yeah. I think we need to understand who, at this point, who our target market is, right? And I keep saying this all around. I feel like that should be like under my name on this show. Who is our target market?
Yeah.
All around. Because like I said, who are we going to be expecting to buy this housing? Like, is this going to be multi-million-dollar housing? Is this going to be cost-effective housing again? Is it like, what? Any details?
Folks, what do you believe should happen to, well, with the Morgan's Point land? What do you think? Nicole Walker says, good morning. The village idea was pretty cool, but I would have loved to see it centered around some kind of convention center. Well, during my time at the BTA and, well, Bermuda Tourism, I should say, I always said that Bermuda needs a convention center. They need a hotel connected with a convention center. I think that's how tourism works. That's big business. I don't mind the idea, but I think still one of the biggest issues is who's going to underwrite it. But I like the idea right there. We're not talking medical tourism today. That's another show. We're talking the Morgan's Point development. Trust me, folks, they gave us a lot of stuff to talk about for a long time, but we will definitely talk about medical tourism in days to come. Sancha, Mark Arthur C. Phillips.
He says, no need to apologize, Sancha. You made some very valid points. I don't know what to say. The only thing I will say is that action speaks louder than words.
Michelle White says, I am concerned about who the target tenants are supposed to be. That said, we have a housing crisis because of an Airbnb. So I thought low-cost housing there. Really?
No, I hope not. I hope not. I hope not.
Yeah. Charles A. Jefferson said, oh, it's Mr. Charles who's been quoted throughout the media this week. He says, I would love to see all of that sold to an entity like Disney and encourage them to build a hotel and bring their cruise ships. They could sell day passes to other visitors to the island. You know, this is the kind of thinking that needs to exist. This is different thinking from what's the norm. Again, I'm just going to repeat what Sancha said earlier. You've already tried this and it didn't work. What makes you think this time it will? Like, seriously, I'm not trying to be critical of the government, but they just make it so easy.
There had to be somebody in that room that said, guys, what about when we did ABC, EFD? It didn't go so well. This seems like it's pretty much the same thing. Do you think the public is going to go for this? It had to be.
But here's the thing, Sancha. I'm just going to say the way that Premier David Brett thinks, honestly, at least it seems so, he makes himself believe, well, that wasn't me. That was a different PLP. That to me is how he thinks. Like, oh, well, that was a different PLP. We will get it right. But if we were to do a report card about what he's gotten right versus what he's ticked off his ridiculous, what's that thing called, platform, I'm not quite sure it'll be too much there, Premier. Yeah. Michelle White says ideas and no plan again. And Manuela John says recycling ideas. Not recycling, just recycling ideas, recycling bad ideas that did not work.
I mean, we all agree that something has to happen at Morgan's Point.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we also all agree that we need to sit down and have a more solid plan, not just an idea that's just pulled out of the sky to say, okay, let's just put this here. It's like I said, I feel like it's almost like we want the public support,
mm-hmm.
but there's no real planning behind it. And I don't know, give me more details. Maybe if they have more details that are going to make us feel like, you know what, okay, maybe this is a good idea, but for now,
it's a no-go.
It's a no-go for me.
Sean Jones says any Mega Morgan's Point project needs to be completely void of any government involvement. I think everyone agrees with that.
Agreed.
We've got to bring in Tamara McHale. It's time for your news break. Don't go anywhere. We're talking another important guest today. We've got Stacey-Lee Williams, the executive director of CURB, joining us. We're talking about racial progress in Bermuda. And I just want to say something about that before we bring the news in. I think it'll be a consensus that we can definitely say in agreement that we're not too impressed with the job that the David Brett administration has done since 2017. I think that we think, they've not done great. But what I really hope people realize and don't forget is do not allow the government's poor leadership and governance make you believe that racism does not exist in Bermuda, because this is one of the best times for them to be who they are. I'll leave it at that. Let's bring in our Tamara McHale for our news break.
Good morning, everybody.
Oh, good morning. Looks like you're out enjoying nature.
I am.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I don't hear any birds.
A
change of scenery is good, but it's a bit chilly though.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jamaica?
I know. The sun is taking a while to. It's out, but it's not like fully out yet.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, we'll see. You're not in the mountains, are you?
I'm in the hills, not the mountain, but the hills.
Okay. So it's chilly. All right. Well, hey, well, welcome from picturesque nature, Jamaica.
Thank you, Jamal. All right, so good morning again, everyone. This is the Daily Hour News Break for today, Tuesday, February 21, brought to you by the People's Pharmacy. So we begin with some unfortunate news as the Gazette is reporting that a motorcyclist was killed late last night after first being involved in a single vehicle crash and then apparently being struck by a truck. A police spokeswoman reportedly said it was understood that the 50-year-old motorcyclist was traveling west along South Road, Southampton, just west of Horseshoe Road, when he was involved in a single vehicle collision around 9:45 p.m. As he was being tended to by several members of the public, He was then struck by a truck also headed in a westerly direction. The man was taken to the King Edward VII Memorial Hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. And of course, the death marks the third road fatality of 2023. The police have asked anyone who may have witnessed the collision to contact them at 211.
Very sad and sincerest condolences to family and friends. Wow, that is a tragedy.
Yeah,
when I read it, I was like, oh, like my heart breaks for them.
Yeah.
indeed. In other news, Premier David Burt held a press conference. You have been discussing the budget so far. Well, one aspect. So, yes, so he held a press conference yesterday, Monday, February 20, following his budget presentation last Friday. The budget last Friday outlined sweeping changes to payroll taxes, a new scheme for Morgan's Point, as you have been discussing, and plans for a world-class medical tourism facility on the island, among a raft of other initiatives. So at yesterday's press briefing, here is a snippet of what the Premier had to say regarding the changes coming for the payroll tax, and this video courtesy of Bermuda.
The changes made to payroll tax rates, all workers earning less than $132,000 annually will pay less payroll tax than last year. For some residents, there'll be a reduction of payroll taxes by 66%. It's important to note that since 2017, workers earning $40,000 have paid a combined $7,000 less in payroll taxes. If we look at the median income in Bermuda, which is at $66,000, those persons will be paying $4,500 less in taxes combined since the time that the PLP has come to office. And extending these reductions is important given the inflationary pressures that workers are having to address. With these changes, the government is once again bearing true to its mantra of building a fair Bermuda and doing that through our system of taxation. In addition to these impactful changes in payroll tax, the statement highlighted the future plans for Morgan's Point. This project.
Yeah, that's the.
I'm not going to say anything about that because that requires a full discussion. I'll just say this much. It's almost like you're trying to punish the very people you need in like some. I'm not quite sure that's going to work out for Bermuda and the government. That's not how you bring equitable. Anyway, we'll have a full discussion about that, I'm sure.
Certainly. And in some other Bermuda-related news, well, the island now has a new drive-through restaurant with Pinkies. So it was opened a few days ago, currently for lunch and dinner, offering cheeseburger, French fries, salads, coffee, donut, soup, kids' meals, and more. With dozens of people hired to staff the new eatery. So the new establishment opened in Devonshire and is operated by owner Mariko Thomas, who explained that they currently open from 10:30 in the morning until 7:30 p.m., but the intention is to start doing breakfast within the next couple of weeks.
I don't eat most of that stuff. I don't. I'm not being critical. I don't do fast food. I mean, I did have a little fish sandwich at Wendy's last year until Sancha, blasted me about the fish sandwich. But I'll say this much. If it's creating opportunities for people and people are supportive of it, long may it last and help the community as a whole.
Certainly. And moving to some regional news, American Airlines on Monday, yesterday, apologized directly to Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley, for an incident which occurred last week as he was departing the Cheddi Jagan International Airport in Guyana following the 2023 International Energy Conference. Now, according to reports, Prime Minister Rowley and the St. Vincent Prime Minister, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, were asked to present themselves to the check-in counter ahead of boarding, despite the Guyana Foreign Ministry alerting American Airlines to their impending departure, which would have allowed them to be checked in from the VIP lounge. So in the apology penned by Robert Warwick, Managing Director of International Government Affairs for American Airlines, it pretty much said that they are asking for, their sincerest apology for not approving the request for expedited treatment. So yeah, apologies coming from them.
I'm accepted on his behalf. I don't. Anyway, what else you got?
And finally, speaking of Trinidad, today is the big day for the culmination of Carnival there. So yesterday was Juve, and today is the big mass. So some 20,000 plus visitors are expected, according to the government. And Trinidad's Minister of Tourism, Culture and the Arts, Randall Mitchell, commended Trinidadians for being resilient as he declared, "This is it. We are here. It's time to exhale after 2 years of uncertainty and restriction," end quote. And over in Dominica, Carnival revelers also took over the streets yesterday for the annual Mass Dominique Juve. And Carnival lovers were seen dancing in the street to the beat of soca and more as they enjoyed the return of Carnival after COVID.
Yeah, they look like they're having a lot of fun down there. You ever been to Carnival in Trinidad, either of you?
I don't think I'll survive.
No.
No.
I do not think I'll survive. My
Same.
best friend, obviously, my best friend Gilbert, he goes every year, and I've been watching his updates, and I'm just like, "You're still going?" And he calls me from every party. It's like a 4 a.m. one, a 10 a.m. one. It's reckless.
But man, if I'm built for that kind of stuff,
I'm
and
not.
my bedtime too. So, and they party like, nah, it's not for people like me. What's the weather looking like?
Okay, no problem. In the weather in Bermuda, a trough moves into the area today, introducing showers and breezy weather with mostly cloudy skies. There's a high near 22 degrees Celsius, 72 degrees Fahrenheit.
All
And here
right.
in Jamaica this morning, partly cloudy across eastern parishes, mainly sunny elsewhere, and expected a maximum temperature today of 32 degrees Celsius.
All right. She didn't say sunny, folks. She didn't end it. She usually ends it with sunny. But
I know the sun is taking a little while to peek out.
what you got there to the air, Sister Sandra?
Today is Pancake Day or Shrove Tuesday. Did you know the history of Pancake Day?
I should, but
You don't?
was not tuned in.
So, Pancake Day has its roots in its association with Ash Wednesday, which is celebrated as the first day of Lent. Lent is a religious season of fasting that is observed by people of the Christian faith prior to Easter. With the number 40 having religious significance in Christianity, Lent is observed for 40 days before Easter, not counting Sundays, making it 46 prior to Easter. Traditionally, on this day, a bell would have been rung to call Christians to church before Lent for their sins or sins to be absolved or shriven, which is where the term Shrove Tuesday came from. This day is a confession in the church. Because Lent is meant to be a season of abstinence, back in 600 AD, the Pope declared that Christians should abstain from eating meat or other animal products during the entire Lent season, beginning on Ash Wednesday. So essentially, Pancake Day is developed out of the practical need to use up all of the remaining eggs, butter, or milk, or other animal products that were in the house before Lent began. So families began to look for what they could make quickly and easily that would use up these ingredients, and that's where Pancake Day came from.
All right, audience, let us know what you giving up for Lent. What you two giving up?
You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I don't give up anything because it falls right within, like it ends around about my birthday time, and I can't. And it's Maddox's birthday, and
she ain't giving up birthday cake.
I'm not. And I just feel like there are things that I do all year round that I kind of stick to, like no sugar in my tea. Like I'm pretty good about certain things. So
I'm gonna give up meat except like seafood because I'm actually supposed to be doing that for my health anyway. So I think it's a perfect time. By the way, is tomorrow like a holiday in Bermuda? Because it is in Jamaica.
Oh no.
Ash Wednesday is a holiday here in Jamaica.
Don't you tell Bermudians that. They're gonna start fighting. Now you're going.
Need a holiday.
They ain't even going to the government. They're going to government house for a holiday. We'll see you later. Have a great one.
Bye.
You're all gonna got a holiday. You know what her name is. Translation says it's also Mother's Language Day. Great time to celebrate Bermudian English. All right, folks, let's take a quick break. We've got our guest coming up, Stacey-Lee Williams, Executive Director of CURB. We're talking about racial progress in Bermuda. You want to share this conversation because racial progress will feel and look different to a lot of people, but I'm always interested to see what's being done to make sure that something's being done. Stick with us.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's, I call it my one-stop shop in the city. People's, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah. Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dandy Town Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
All right, welcome back to the big show. She's Sancha Durham. I'm Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Sancha, please tell them, just register to become a part of the PDH community. Honestly, we don't want you all to miss out on some of the things that we have going on. It's a lot of fun stuff. You know, I had a nice tasting donut after they made me, pick up trash and stuff. I had ordered some special gloves too, so it didn't get on my hands. So, I could get you guys some if you want to join us on some of our other stuff happening. And if you want to join us today.
Tons of fun together. So please, I actually would love to meet people face to face. I want to see who's behind these comments, and so we can have a discussion. Please be a part of the Daily Hour community.
Yeah.
You know what the best time is? Now is the best time to sign up because Jamal is on island. When Jamal's on island, we do a ton of stuff. So sign up today. Because this is rocking.
I mean, I don't have manners, so I probably won't speak to you in person, but yeah, that's what Maddox is there for. Anyway, folks, let's bring in our guest for the day. You got Stacey-Lee Williams. Let's give her a warm TDH welcome. You know how it is. All righty. Welcome. So we're going to have to do a couple things. We're going to have to get you to push back a bit, and then we're going to have to get you to take off mute so that we can have a conversation. All righty. Yeah, I'm going to say this on air. We do ask people not to mute themselves and not to turn their cameras off when they're backstage because of things like this, but it happens. Technology will do that. But good morning to you, madam. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Bermuda. Good morning, Jamal. And good morning, Sancha.
Did you enjoy the conversation this morning?
I definitely have.
Okay.
Definitely have enjoyed the conversation this morning. I wanted to answer your question about who was the executive.
Mr. Dupero, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, feel free. Feel free. You could have hit us up backstage, but thank you for tuning in. Sometimes people tune in and then just jump in. Oh, can I answer the question or say something before we get into our conversation? But no, thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming back. The work that you all do is so important for our community, especially those in the workspace in Bermuda. But before we get into the conversation, just tell the audience a bit about your background and what it is that you do.
Okay, so I am currently the executive director at CURB, Citizens Uprooting Racism in Bermuda. I have been in that role for next month would actually be a year. I had previously been in education for about 25 years. Never thought I would leave that, but I am finding it quite refreshing working at CURB. I am the only on-site staff member right now. We're looking to expand, but thoroughly enjoying that work. It is an area of passion. I do have a background in diversity, equity, and inclusion, so it sort of suits me and my passion.
Oh, nice. And I'm not quite sure I knew you were an educator, but a transition. And we all know that when it comes to racism, we need an educator in that space. Seriously, it's serious education.
I was very sad to see you leave because she was at Summersfield for so long. And when I enrolled Maddox, it was one of the things that I was so happy that they had someone in that role. And then all of a sudden it was like, I was like, wait, whoa, hold on. So I was sad to see you leave, but I'm so happy to see the role that you have come into.
Thank you. Thank you.
She is a myth. Look at that, folks. So in the United States, February is known as Black History Month. In the state I live in Florida, there's a lot going on where the governor's trying to remove books and, change just things when it comes to teaching children and people in general about racism and the history of the Black race. But how important do you believe history is to, uprooting racism, but also progressing forward?
So I believe it's important. It's so important to share our Black history, to celebrate our Black history, to acknowledge what has happened in the past so that we can learn from it and move forward in the future. CURB, we did put out a statement this past month. We actually celebrate or acknowledge Black history all year round, and we acknowledge all of the other organizations to do so as well, to put the same level of energy that they're putting into it right now in February throughout the year, because it's so important to our kids. It helps to form identity and pride in who we are, and I think we lack that a bit in Bermuda, that aspect of pride. And so whilst this is an American celebration, we do acknowledge and support the organizations that do it in Bermuda, but we also encourage that same energy throughout the year. I will say that CURB is so busy this month supporting organizations that either want workshops around Black history or the history of Bermuda. We're in churches right now, sharing Black history. We're in schools. We're very busy this month.
And I love how you started. Again, I'm a big proponent of Black history being taught year round. This 1 month isn't for us. It's really for others. But it's, I support it. I'm a believer in that, because if we leave it to 1 month, the shortest month of the year as well, we're doing a disservice to our own history. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So what do you believe racial progress looks like in 2023?
So what does that look like? I, haven't been in this role for a year. That question is always foremost in my mind. Like, what is progress, right? We have decided to do sort of a strategic review about racism in Bermuda. And we're persist in Bermuda, and we're looking at, that it's outright racism, it's history and symbolism. It's a huge one is the internalized racism that persists in Bermuda. And then you have malice, and you just have outright ignorance, right? But the internalized racism piece is huge. And so where do we find this? We find it in the workplace, we find it in education, we find it in the criminal justice system, all of that. And so then how do we plan to tackle it? And that's through advocacy and workshops and all of that sort of thing. But for racism to progress, we need more people to join the conversation, need more people to accept that racism does persist, and not to brush it under the carpet, which is what we do when we internalize racism. I can say that some progress that we have seen is the fact that, many organizations are now, going through some equity audits, definitely going through some equity audits, which they have asked me or CURB to help them identify areas within their organizations that are inequitable and in particular racially inequitable. And so I see some progress in that way. The schools are tackling it. They're or beginning to tackle it or have the conversations. I've seen it in the private schools. They are wanting to have the conversation more or having more workshops to try to become more equitable environments and to address some of the systemic issues that are associated with their past, like how did the school start and all of that. So there is some progress. But racism is pervasive. It's so huge to tackle that we have to continue to advocate for fairness and racial equity. We have to continue to hold workshops, hold the conversations that CURB is doing through our Truth and Reconciliation community conversations, and also to think about how we restore some of this, the harm that racism has caused. So racial progress is within that.
And I wanted to just follow up with a question statement is, I think people have this thing where they think racism has a look or a feel, right? And I feel like racism is so hidden nowadays, right? Like I'm going to use the United States because it's an easy example, but it's almost certain that if a white man is a conservative, it's easy to label him a racist. But if a white man's a liberal and he has a black friend, then he's an ally, and that's just not true. And to me, that actually interrupts progress. And I guess the question I have is, how can we recognize, because in order to fix a problem, we have to address it, right? How can we recognize and then address it? Are there any strategies to say, you know what, this person believes they're an ally, but they're always making inappropriate comments. They are in a position of power and have done nothing to advance Black people in spaces. Like, is there a strategy? I'm sorry, Sancho, that got me.
There's many things, there's many things. Anti-racism is not just a one-off. You just can't say I'm an anti-racist and become an anti-racist. You have to continually check your biases, continually check your positions of power and privilege. But how do we do that? We need to call it out when we see it, even in those that deem that they're allies, right? It's a continuous journey of trying to become an anti-racist. It's not easy. And also within ourselves that we need to stop perpetuating it or coddling people when they need to be called out on it.
Okay. How can we measure whether the diversity and inclusion has benefited racial progress in Bermuda?
So that, to me, is an interesting question. And I don't know if I'm going to speak on behalf of myself or CURB at this stage. But, as a background with diversity, equity, inclusion, we do advocate for all of those core cultural identifiers, whether it's ability, age, gender, orientation, all of that, right? So sometimes, like when we take on DEI and within some of these organizations, the focus still isn't around race. They're still afraid to speak about race or address it, but it becomes easier for them to address other discriminatory areas of discrimination based on their comfort levels. And so a lot of organizations will do DEI, but around the comfort levels of the people that are leading that within those organizations. So whilst we do see more organizations embracing diversity, equity, inclusion, they still need work. They still need work for that to be equitable. We need to ensure that racial equity is in place. And so in hiring practices, in policies and practice, or even putting out a statement, a diversity and inclusion statement, it has to be strong against anti-racism.
Well, I've seen companies very up close doing these DEI programs. And it always seems it's a Black woman or a woman who's getting the head DEI position. They think that's the progress. They hire more Black people, but those positions that they get are not decision-making positions. Nothing really changes on the C-suite level or culturally outside of maybe having a company barbecue and engaging people more. I just think DEI has almost been one of those, let me check off this box that we've done something, but that something is, well, you can't say we don't have Black employees now, for instance, if that makes sense.
I think, I don't know, I do have to disagree with you a little, because I have seen some progress within some organizations about being really explicit about this work. And being real intentional. I don't want to call those organizations out right now, but definitely seeing some real audits of organizations on whether they're addressing real systemic issues. And so you do see a bit of that change. So I do see some progress in that area. I definitely do. And one thing that's happening with CURB is we're getting more calls about this and to give advice on this, right? We have calls I've had calls from like white men that have said, I've said the wrong thing on my job, and now, I'm in this situation or whatever. So we would actually offer them to come and have more conversations to address some of those matters that the inward racism that they have, and also working with their organization. So it is beginning to happen. We're getting more calls at CURB. We're addressing it differently. And we're providing guidance and then following up with workshops. And so I believe that's partial progress. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot because not every white person's going to address and say, or come out and say, listen, I may have said something racist, or I have contributed to this inequitable practice. But I think even like the fact that we've had a few is some progress.
But I think my point is putting a Black face is not progress.
No, I agree with you.
I think my point is, a gentleman said it to me at a chamber meeting recently that, diversity also requires diversity of thought. So putting in a Black face who literally they're just happy to go along with that's the point. That's what I was trying to make. So definitely,
not a problem.
So what is some of the work that CURB is doing to advance racial progress in Bermuda? I know you spoke about it briefly, but if you can go into more detail with that.
Okay, I'll talk about two of our specific programmings and then probably give some other examples. But I would say the Truth and Reconciliation Community Conversations, where we have probably had maybe 1,500 come through that whole program so far. That is about racial healing. That's about having those conversations, but we also look to have a diverse group of people that we have those conversations with. And so through our Truth and Reconciliation Community Conversations, we have more white and Black dialogue and some solutions at the end of our 7-week program with them. We're using that information or the solution-based information that comes out of those conversations to form a report that will be produced at some point. So with that, and also through our restorative practice program. So it's one thing to point out racism or to combat racism, but we also need to provide a tool for restoring some of the inequities that happen. And so having conversations around what that looks like, what does restoration look like to bring about racial healing in Bermuda. And so that is a deep dive and a focus. We have, like I said, gone through a strategic review where we have revisited our mission to combat racism in Bermuda. We have put ourselves out there to have to be more open to receiving complaints so that we could provide guidance. We can't provide legal help, but we can provide guidance on how to address certain issues. We have had managers or people call and say, well, the CEO, he has racist practices. How can we address this? So I have gone out and met with some of these CEOs, had those conversations, and do some recommendations on how to better serve their employees. There's lots of interesting stuff going on, and hopefully CURB can be seen as that organization in a positive light around tackling these issues.
All right, folks, if you have any questions or comments for Ms. Williams, please send them through. Karen Simmons, she's asking, how can organizations engage their personnel management and employees in truth and reconciliation training?
Just give me a call. We can do group training, or you can sign up for one of our upcoming trainings. The next Truth and Reconciliation is on March 15th. It's a 7-week program, and will be done every Wednesday evening.
All right. Mark Arthur C. Phillips asking, what is the greatest challenge for race issues in Bermuda?
The greatest challenge is, I would say, part of it is that internalized racism, the oppressive nature that we took on as even Black Bermudians, and overcoming that. Because once we suppress the things that actually cause some of our actions, then we will just stay norm. We need to get over some of that in order to progress in Bermuda. Also, I believe that we need to look at some of our practices, whether it's within the criminal law system or within government and policies and practice, and just look deeply at some of those policies, some of the acts, things like that. We need to do the deep dive into start making some of these changes so that systemically we start changing.
All right. Ling Govok's translation says, how do we address this who say stuff like, quote, just get over it, slavery was so long ago, end quote?
I think it's really interesting how, that is a trigger for me, like, just get over it and things like that. But we don't say that when it comes to other systemic issues or other systemic matters. But when it comes to race, they want us to just get over it. They're so eager to talk about other forms of discrimination, to address other forms of discrimination, to put their money behind it. But when it comes to racism, we need to get over it. Well, I think that we need to continue to fight and push through that. And I personally will. And I think us at CURB will constantly do that. We have to let people know that that is a microaggression when they say it, and that we're going to deal with it.
But how do we deal? I don't know if this person's Black or white. I'm going to assume they're Black. But how do we deal with people like this? They go on the internet, they listen to certain people, and they make comments like this. As long as you call yourself Black, you're considered dead in the law, which is why we don't get anything done. Like, you're dismissing. Let me be clear about me. I don't have to call myself anything. I live in Florida, one of the most lawless and racist states in the union. If I'm out walking at a certain time, I'm not getting treated differently because I'm calling myself Black. I'm getting treated differently because of how the system sees me. So ignorant comments like this, and I'm going to call it what it is don't dismiss the experience of others. I speak about race based on what I've experienced in the workplace, in the justice system. So how do we address ignorance from what I deem our own people when it comes to race, because they've been on the internet and their minds have sponged what they've heard?
I think as long as we continue to see racial inequity, you can't say that not using the word Black. Like, I'm Black. I'm proud to be Black. I'm Black, I'm proud, and my legacy is loud, and I'll always say it. We need to empower ourselves. And if we take on that type of mentality, we're not helping anybody. Because we see the systemic injustice, we see that racial inequity persist. We see it in our pay. We see it in, just our everyday living. So how can we deny that?
I'm puzzled by that. Kiara Sumner says, I was toying with the idea of holding a Black History scavenger hunt for my job to encourage education and understanding of history for both Bermudians and expats. I'm feeling empowered to press forward now. Thank you.
Please do so. I know we have that same, we're thinking of doing the same thing for Heritage Month, but please do so. It encourages people to learn more about Bermuda, Bermuda's history, and Bermuda's Black history. And I keep learning. And I'm so excited to be in the position I am because I'm learning more and more about our history in Bermuda.
All righty. Let's go to Diane. Elliott has a comment, which, again, this is interesting because I'd like her to define. She says, what about Black on white racism, which you also have in Bermuda? I don't know what Black on white racism is, because even the premier who's Black doesn't really have any power. And I think we're lost on that. So what does this mean?
I can't speak to what Diane directly means. There is this question on whether Black people can be racist, or do we actually call it prejudice that Black people have? And there's this constant dynamic or discussion around whether Black people can actually be racist. And I know that the conversation is shifting to a bit of, yes, there is a bit of racism involved there, but more and more thought needs to be to go behind it. But I will say personally that I believe that Black people show prejudice more than racism towards white people.
Yeah, she said verbal comments. So that's I don't think that's racism, verbal comments. That's more prejudice or discriminatory comments. Yeah.
And it depends on where it's coming from, because sometimes Black people have gone through so much oppression or like microaggressions or bias and all of that, that sometimes our defense or our response may appear aggressive, may appear racist, may appear, but in actual in reality, it's because it's been built up, because we've been living this and walking this for so long that's our response. But is it actual racism? I don't know. It would depend on the actual circumstances. So I can't really speak to it like that.
One last question before you go. Just remind us, Kiara Sumner's asking, how can persons get involved with CURB?
Oh, most definitely. You can visit our website, uprootingracism.bm. I can send you membership links. We are currently updating our website, so you won't find the link on there right away. We are also rebranding, so you'll see a lot more of us, and we're inviting you to become a member, to become an active member, because we'll be putting together some working groups to deal and to tackle racism in Bermuda. So expect a lot from CURB within the coming months.
All right, Stacey-Lee Williams, thank you so much. I think this was a great conversation, very engaging with the audience. Thank you for the work that you all are doing. And, this platform is open to you. If you've got anything going on, any events coming up, please let us know and we will be happy to share. So have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Stacey-Lee Williams, folks, if you appreciated that conversation, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share it, because I'm sure there will be many more opinions on what was said and what was not said. So we're going to take a quick break. Come back, wrap it up. You don't want to miss it. Trust me. Got a little daily play for you.
A lot happens around your home. That is why at One Communications, we have introduced affordable security and video monitoring, because everyone should be able to afford to protect their family. Anytime, from anywhere, One Home Security keeps you connected and puts security in your hands with an easy-to-use smartphone app to control everything. Home security is important to keep you and your family safe. Motion-activated cameras around your home and security monitoring within create a complete security system, providing protection both inside and outside your home. Professional monitoring means that there's someone on call with 24/7 protection to notify the authorities and help keep you and your loved ones safe. We are dedicated to whole home protection with indoor and outdoor cameras, smart door locks, motion sensors, and more, so you'll always be connected to what matters most. With professional installation, no upfront hardware fees, and low monthly rates, because keeping your family safe should be affordable for everyone. Total home video monitoring and security, there's no better way to protect your home than with one home security.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you once again to Stacey-Lee Williams. I really loved her today. She was so much more comfortable. Last time she was seeming nervous. She was good. She was great. She was great. So thank you so much to her and Curb for the work they're doing. Thanks for the conversation. Thanks again to One Communications, Medical House Windows, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring we can have these kind of conversations. If you appreciated it, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like, and make sure you share it. It's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. Sandra, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. So remember when. You know this answer, Sandra. Don't let me down.
I know. I get so.
When did Maya Palacio begin working with the Daily Hour? The month and year.
2022. What month was it? Temple? I honestly can't remember. Oh no, wait. Give me a minute, because it was before Cop Match. June?
The audience doesn't know either.
May or June?
Well, it's not May. It's not July.
It's June. It has to be June. It can't be April.
It was.
But I started in March.
And she started in April.
Really? It was that fast?
Yeah.
I had all of that mouth and I just started talking about who we should hire.
It was May. It was May. It was May. But I understand, because you saw Nicole put it. Yeah, she started May. Remember, because you started March. You basically said, "Hey, we should check Maya," and ran out. She was supposed to start April, but she came in May. Yeah, because we announced it. Let's say we maybe announced it around the anniversary, or we announced it late April. But yeah, she started in May. Yeah,
that makes sense.
September, you went all the way.
Listen. This is how I know I'm getting ill and I have too much going on. The months just be rolling sometimes. I'm just like, time gets away from me.
You know, it's August right now, right?
It feels like it.
No, I ain't got my cut back yet. I don't feel like it.
I felt like you're not getting it back, but I felt like she started a while after me. I felt like I was on here for a while before she started.
I'll keep in mind she weren't on as often because Liana was still here. So that's
yes.
Final thoughts on today's show, discussion, and then obviously the conversation with Miss Williams.
Today has been, I've loved all of the engagement from the audience today. Obviously, I mean, I hope that they hear us loud and clear. Government should not be getting into the business of development. It's happened before. We have failed at it. Not we, they have failed at it. And I wish that we will learn from our mistakes. We do not have any points to prove, guys.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they can be a better government to us, except where they're not as strong, and figure out the people that are strong at it, and let's invest in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed Stacey coming on today. As I said, my first encounter with her was with Maddox at Summersfield, and obviously, you know, I always have concerns having my son at a private school at such a young age. I know people don't know where I stand on it, but it's always a concern, which is why I'm always seen. And Stacey would tell you, I am at that school all the time because, you know, those are the things at such a young age. They're impressionable, and we need to protect them, right? So I love to hear the work that she's doing. I was sad to see her leave, but I love the work that she's doing. And
yeah,
we need to sit in who we are, and we have to make progress. I mean, yes, slavery was a while ago, but when we talk about segregation,
Sancha don't want to leave today, folks.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. When we talk, this is when we talk about segregation, that wasn't long ago.
No, it wasn't.
That includes racism. Like, yeah, I'm sorry.
You don't, like, seriously, and that's why I'm confused by some of the comments today. But it's and I think Rosalind Famous brought it up. Just get over it. But in regards to I completely agree with you, Sancha. Government, no need to be involved in that. Like, but I'm also interested in how that process is going to go in terms of tendering out the contracts, which I'm surprised you didn't mention. Like, who's going to get some of these contracts? That let's keep our eyes on that. Let's write that down, Sancha. Seriously,
wow, that is a whole another conversation. Okay.
All right, I'm not going to get you started. Okay, but I thought of it, and I know it's on your mind, but it is. So let's keep that in mind, folks. But I think we need to keep our eyes on this and see what happens, because the script's been written for this before. Yeah. As far as Stacey-Lee Williams, look, we can talk and talk and talk until the cows come home, but unless we're acting on our words to make changes that need to be made, nothing's going to change. As I said to her, I think racism is a bit more hidden today. It's not as out there and obvious, right? And I think it's hidden by the people that you least expect. Oh, shucks, Maya did correct me. It was April. Yeah, my goodness, it was April she started. So everybody was wrong. Yeah, it was April.
Wow.
Yeah, everyone's wrong. Sorry, Maya. Boom, we're still here.
Maya, he doesn't admit when he gets things wrong. So this is big.
I didn't throw nobody on the bus. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyway, but yeah, great conversation. Thanks again. Well, we need daily play. Yes. Daily play, daily inspiration. Give it to us.
Yes. You can't separate peace from freedom, because no one can be at peace unless he has his freedom. Malcolm X.
There you go. All right. Thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, Thunders, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you. We love you. We thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Sancha Dorm. I'm Jamal Hartman. My friends, make it a safe and a great day. Craig Simmons tomorrow, folks. It's going to be interesting. Talking budget.